My name is Skyla. It's wonderful to see you all here today. Can everybody hear me and see me? Just get some quick thumbs ups, nods. Excellent. The virtual backgrounds are fun, you guys. That's an exciting thing to do. I'll have to figure that out for my Zooms for school this year. As a little bit of background on me, like I said, my name is Skyla. I'm currently a University of Oregon Rotary actor. I'm finishing up my last term as an undergraduate. I'm studying journalism and communications. Part of the reason why I'm here facilitating this meeting for you today is because, you know, as you can see on the screen, this track that we're in right now is going to focus on how we can get students who have participated in Camp RYLAs across our districts to kind of get integrated into those other youth services that we offer. The reason that I was asked to do this is because I was involved in Interact for all 4 years of high school. I did a short-term youth exchange. I'm a proud Rotary actor, and I've attended RYLA both as a camper and for the last 4 consecutive years as a staff member. So needless to say, I'm pretty hooked on Rotary youth programs. They've served me excellently. I have made some of my most favorite friends, Rotaractors, Interactors, Rotarians alike in some of these programs. So I consider myself a pretty shining example of what people can serve to gain from these things. So first of all, thanks for having me here today. I'm looking forward to this. Pretty much what we're going to do today is, I'm sure you guys have had relatively similar formats for the other sessions that you've gone through. What I'm going to do is just go over a couple of quick, really basic rules. I'll go through them quickly because I think you guys probably have a handle on things by now. We'll assign some key roles that will help us get through the meeting today. Luckily, it looks like we're a pretty small group, which serves the advantage of we are not going to have to break up into smaller sessions, I don't think. We can just have one nice big discussion between us. So we'll go through those roles and kind of get everybody set up, and then I'm just have prompt questions that I will put into the chat so you guys can refer back to those as need be. And pretty much what I'm going to do is we'll just go around and I'll call on people and we'll have a sweet discussion about how to get these programs a little bit more integrated for everybody. Does that sound good to everyone? Excellent. Okay, awesome. Feel free to interrupt at any point in time. As a heads up, I'm sure you figured out Zoom really only focuses on one singular audio at a time. So unfortunately, it doesn't facilitate sort of popcorning very well. But that being said, you know, feel free to give me a hand, you know, interrupt for just a moment so I can see that you have a question or a comment or something, and we will go from there. So let's see, everyone has had a moment to kind of check out the slide. Is it okay if I turn off my screen share for now? Okay, excellent. Now we can see everybody, fantastic. So what I'm gonna do, let me really quickly go ahead and pop the questions that we will go over today in our chat. So you guys have those to reference. Okay, awesome. So what we're talking about today, oh, sorry, we're gonna assign some roles really quickly. I'm excited, we're gonna get right into it. So what I would love to do is have some people kind of take these positions to help make sure our conversation goes really smoothly today. And like I said, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. So the couple of positions that we're gonna assign today are someone is going to be a note keeper, someone is going to be a reporter, and someone is going to be a timekeeper. So we'll just go one by one, and if you guys want to volunteer for the position just by a hand raise, that's excellent. If we have cold feet, I don't mind calling on people either. So what the note taker is going to do is very self-explanatory. We just want to make sure we have a nice little collection of some of our thoughts today. Along with that, I also really encourage everybody include, you know, comments, thoughts, questions you might have in the chat, as that will be there for the whole conversation. That's a really great way to engage with each other. Is anyone interested right off the bat in being the note taker for this session? Okay, let's see. How about Art? Would you be interested in being the note taker this time around? Excellent. Okay, I see positive facial expressions. Thank you, Art.
I said reluctantly.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can the notes be on my paper, or am I supposed to do it in chat or something?
I think whatever works best for you. The chat would allow everyone to engage with it right off the bat, but if you prefer handwriting, we could connect afterwards and get that out to the group. So whatever you prefer.
Do whatever.
Is anybody interested in being the timekeeper? Essentially what the timekeeper is going to do is we want to make sure everybody has a chance to participate. So we are going to try and limit comments and thoughts to right about 1 minute, and then we can always go back and revisit those topics later if we have the time. So the timekeeper, Mike, awesome, I saw a hand. Thank you so much for that. Mike will be our timekeeper. And the reporter is someone who, when we are getting back together later, you know, we're kind of revisiting our thoughts at the end of the group, or the end of our session, excuse me. The reporter is kind of just going to give a nice summary of, you know, this is kind of what our thoughts were, maybe some action items that we have moving forward that people can take back to their own districts and clubs to use. Is anybody interested in being the reporter? Sherry, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, excellent. So I'll give everybody just a second to adjust. What we're going to be talking about in the session for most of today is how, like I said, how are we going to integrate folks who have already attended Camp RYLA, whatever that may look like in your district or your area? How are we going to get those students to integrate into these other programs, which, just to be super clear, include things like Interact, the high school-based kind of version of Rotary, Rotaract, which is usually associated with a community, a college, something along those lines, or the youth exchange programs. They can be short-term, they can be long-term. There's lots of different options for people around here. So the very first question that we ask is the focus question for this group, which is very broad. How can we sort of channel RYLArians into these programs once we've already gained them from Camp RYLA? So I'm going to open it up just for a second to see if anyone has thoughts. If not, we will transition into sort of a calling on system. Did anyone come to this meeting today with like an elevator pitch that they're excited to talk about? Or Angela?
I don't have an elevator pitch, but I'll just tell you what we do. So we have a 5-day long RYLA program, and we have one specific day where like our incoming district governor will come in, and we also have former RYLA alumni come in, or an interactor, sometimes both, depends. And they talk about the different opportunities within Rotary of how you can get involved once you leave the program. So we used to do that on Mondays. The teens would come up the Sundays, and we used to do it Mondays, but we moved it to the Thursday. So their last day of RYLA is Friday morning. So they hear it Thursday when they're ready to internalize everything about that Rotary has to offer moving forward. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
Excellent. David, I see a hand.
Yeah. Over the years, not necessarily consistently, but we try to focus on telling stories. So at RYLA, we'll have youth exchange people telling their story about how they got into youth exchange, why they got into it, and sometimes it was a progression of things where they were involved in other Rotary sponsored activities and then got into that. For those who are in Interact, we usually have somebody who's on the Interact Council that leads the Interact program for the district. And that individual or individuals, again, can tell stories about how the experience, has enhanced their, from RYLA to Interact has enhanced their ability to become a club president, to become a district governor, or other district council members. So those kind of stories are pretty impactful, and we find that people will come afterwards after the camp and say, well, how can I get connected into that?
Awesome. Bob, I think I saw your hand earlier.
Yes. Yeah. We've done a couple things at the district level. We started a passport club with individuals that had gone to RYLA. And the president of that club is a RYLArian. In fact, she met her husband at RYLA. They're both Rotarians now. And so that gives us a little bit of an edge there. The other thing we noticed was that it's difficult for the programs to, for the individuals in the programs to talk to each other if the programs aren't talking. So we had some silos in terms of RYLA and Interact and Rotaract. And so now we're trying to get those 3 programs at the program level to talk to each other and see if we can't get some of that integration there first.
Right, right. So I wonder, it seems like, I think a lot of the programs across districts have some sort of facilitation where there is mention of, if you're in one program, whether it be RYLA or Interact, there is a connection to, here are these other things we offer. Does anybody have any thoughts on maybe some sort of follow-up that could be happening that kind of extends beyond, okay, so once they're out of the program, they're out of our grasp in front of us, how can we follow up with that and connect with them beyond the initial participation?
I know for at least over in my district, that's something I need to be better on, because I basically I'm the coordinator for RYLA, and I work with Bob, and he's done a great job with the Rotary, and I need to be working harder on getting that connection there between people who come out of RYLA and then get them over into Rotary. So I'm sure there's a lot that can be done there, and I'm very curious to hear what other clubs have been doing so that I can get some ideas for going forward.
I saw a hand from Sherry.
Yes, I'm from District 5495 in Arizona. And we also do something similar, youth services presentation with all the different programs we offer up to the RYLArians. But then on the course of the program, while they're there at camp, we have a sign-up table where they can sign up for Interact, and whether they want to, we have an Interact District Council. And we make sure that anybody that signs up, that somebody on the staff contacts them after the program. That seems to have worked pretty well.
Excellent, excellent. Angela, I saw your hand.
Yeah, we do similar. We also do, we have a database full of, for the last 15 years, of RYLA alumni that we send out communications to on an annual basis. And then we also have, through social media, different silo groups from those specific weeks that we had. And we try to send continuous information out through that way. We try to have RYLA alumni take over those pages at some point so that we as the Rotarians don't always have to do it, and it gives them a duty to do and stay involved. So we try those different ways to do it.
Angela, is that database effective in reaching the alumni, do you think?
Yeah, we try to get them to update their information as they move around. As you know, when they go off to college and things like that, their emails may change. The 5190 lead registrar that I work with, Steve Singer, has been involved with this program forever, and he's pretty good about again, some of them they fall off, or whatever, but we do have a lot of alumni that still are out there and come back through and come back as our counselors. We call them facilitators now, that come back later when they're 24 or older to work RYLA with us. So it's pretty effective, but it's not foolproof. We could do it better.
Does part of your RYLA organizing group manage that database, or who?
We have 2 people that manage the database from the Nevada area, 5190. We try not to have too many hands into it. We just try to keep it succinct. They have it down to a science, so I know how to use it if I have to. But yeah, they're pretty good about it.
Has it resulted in any Rotarians? Have the kids?
Coming back. Well, I
the
love
Rotary
the
level?
passport. Someone else mentioned, I think it was Bob, about passport. We've seen that be really effective way for them to engage on a quarterly basis. Ours here in Sacramento is quarterly. So yes, I have seen RYLA alumni come back as Rotarians as well, through coming back and doing Regal, which is the 8th grade, and the RYLA when they're older, and then they go on to be Rotarians. So not more than 10% though, to be in the 10 years I've been involved, not more than 10 have come back to become Rotarians, but that's pretty good. I think that I've seen 10.
Mm-hmm. So something I want to highlight about that I think is really interesting that we could maybe branch off of a little bit is, Angela mentioned that a lot of the time the people who are kind of coming back to help with other programs like Camp RYLA are people who either experienced them themselves or went through other youth programs. I think it's really important that we kind of break that down a little bit and discuss, what do you think it is about either these services that you're offering or the dynamics that are provided at Camp RYLA that might make those folks want to come back and participate, not only in other programs, but doing something like coming back as a Rotarian when applicable. Beyond that, something that I think is really important for all of us we're here right now on this Zoom call. So I think that demonstrates the fact that we are present with Rotary, we're engaged in Rotary, we're here to continue facilitating this throughout the youth services, right? I think when we get in that position, it can be really easy to not be thinking so much about what are the youth actually getting from this. We know what we're getting from it. We know what we want them to get out of it. What do these programs look like if you kind of sit in the other seat and are coming at it from the perspective of the youth who might be interested in it? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Mike, I saw you unmute your camera or unmute your microphone. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I had a comment on the last topic and I wasn't sure how. So one of the things that we do in our district, our RYLA chair has recruited volunteers for RYLA from the Rotaract clubs. So the Rotaractors come and act as mentors and facilitators, which builds some informal connection. And the participants respond to that well because it's a smaller age gap. So.
Awesome. I saw Angela had a raised hand again. Oh, it looks
Hold on, I was putting the dog outside.
Oh, excellent.
Now as I segued, what was the question again? I had an answer, but I forgot what the question was again.
Yeah, no problem. My prompt was, I was just curious about if you kind of are sitting in the other seat of the youth services, what might we be offering from these programs that are really bringing the youth in?
What they want to do is get their resume up for college. Like, so my RYLA alumni will come back for Regal because they don't have to be over 20 to do that. And they want to build up their resume because they want to either get into teaching or other youth services once they go on into college, is what I've noticed. There usually are people that are involved in some kind of governance and things like that too. So they really want to they want to build their resume, is what I've found. And you talk about how that's a launching pad and getting to meet even more Rotarians who have networking connections that could benefit your career path as you go. So that's been a thing that a lot of our teens have liked. I have teens wanting to come back super fast to work RYLA again, but we just feel, since it's 17, 18-year-olds in our program that come, I just think you got to be over 24 to come back as a facilitator for people to have that separation and not the puppy love stuff going on and everything like that. So just to have a separation and better experience for all. So, but they want to just be part of it again because they love the interaction and the growth. But
Absolutely. Amanda?
What we've actually had some good success with, here, I just lost my screen. There we go. We've had some pretty good success with getting former campers to come back and be basically counselors the next year, and they've been fairly engaged with that. And one of the things that some of the other people and I were talking about the earlier breakout session today was, especially since RYLA is going to probably be more virtual going forward, is kind of trying to reimagine it. Like, reimagine it as maybe not just a 1-week camp, but something that's more engaging throughout the entirety of the year. So various projects, little funders, or just things that they can do together for a few times a year versus just this one camp. And then that can help funnel and connect them into something like Rotaract when they get old enough for that too.
Excellent. Yeah, I think having those lines of connections are really helpful. Sherry, I saw a hand.
Yes, in our program, once you've attended the RYLA program, then you can qualify to come back the next year as a program or team counselor. And then after you've done both of those, then when you become into college or young 20s, you can become what we call a mentor. The program that we have is entirely run by that group of people, young people. The adults are just there to help out when needed.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that they really enjoy learning from each other. And speaking of virtual, I just wanted to throw this out. We're doing our very first virtual RYLA program next weekend. Never done it before because we've had to cancel the in-person twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be totally run by the young people. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Wow. Yeah, that's excellent. You're definitely building that bridge, I think, for a lot of RYLAs who will end up doing that.
It's just a supplement. It's not to replace RYLA.
Right.
Just like Amanda was saying, you can just add, we still hope to still have our in-person programs at some point, but virtual, we're hoping to make that a permanent program because it will pull in other students that can't do the in-person for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Right. Excellent. It will be interesting for sure to see how all of these youth programs are kind of modeled and adjusted as we move forward in this new remote landscape that we're all sort of learning to navigate. Some things, are obviously much more easily coordinated over a computer than others. So something that is as large and often as intricate as Camp RYLA will be very interesting to see how we do that. Luckily, Rotary, I think, is pretty excellent at making these things up and making them even better as we go along. So something that I want to do to make sure that we get, Amanda?
Oh, I just had another thought on this. When talking with some of the people in the earlier breakout sessions, they're saying that with, funds are so much more dramatically reduced now, they're sending a camper over to RYLA can be extremely expensive and kind of out of their ability or scope to do so right now. So towards a more virtual program in the future might actually allow us to serve more kids or young adults.
Right, absolutely.
Obviously could have before, since we wouldn't have the maintenance facility costs and all that stuff. So that's something to think about.
Absolutely. And another thing that I would point out in that same line of, and kind of part of what I was just about to say, was a unique ability and kind of advantage of doing online and remote work like this is just from our screen, we have less than 15 people in this chat. And if you look just really briefly, almost every single person is from a different district, a different part of the US. We're really spread apart, but we're all sitting here together with one another right now. I think that will be an advantage, especially when we get into youth programs as well. So something that I want to do is, just like Bob mentioned, the passport program that they have for kind of tracking and keeping up with the youth as they go through these different programs. I want to just go around the group and have everybody share one thing that their district does that they think is really impressive or really effective related to these youth programs. Whether it's RYLA, Interact, something that your Rotary Club does to just get people involved, little things like that. So I'll go first. Something that my RYLA district does, I'm from District 5110. Our Camp RYLA is juniors in high school that are going into, sophomores that are going into their junior year of high school. Something that we do every year that I think is really exciting and helps us as counselors and assistant counselors and Rotarians stay in touch with the students is we have these really big posters that we put up in our dining hall that is present all week long. And what it is it's essentially a social media checklist. There's all sorts of these different apps and everybody uses different things, and some people are more familiar with others and less familiar with others. So what we do is we essentially have a different poster for all different brands of social medias. We will have a Facebook poster, we will have an Instagram poster, and so on. So throughout the week, as kids are comfortable, obviously it's totally optional, they are able to go up and kind of list their social media information on the blocks. So then at the end of the week, when they are allowed their phones to be used on the very last day of camp, they can choose to take a picture of it, they can write it down, whatever they'd like to do, so the students are able to continue interacting with each other afterwards. So that's just a little tidbit of something I think we do that's unique, helps people stay engaged, super easy, super fun. I think I'll probably just go in a little circle according to what's on my screen. So Mike, you are closest to me. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share.
I didn't even unmute myself this time. I think one of the things that our current Interact chair has done very well is to develop a broad-based district-wide council for Interact presidents, for Rotaract presidents and participants, and then for advisors and some Rotarians. So it kind of bridges all of those levels. And she holds regular meetings, and they do an event across the district every year just for Interact. And I think that's a good way to connect all the levels and the programs.
Excellent. Andrew, if you'd like to share any thoughts, you are next up on my screen.
Hi, I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow, not a Rotarian. I just finished at Chula in March. And I guess I would just say I've been working with youth programs off and on for about 25 years as a classroom teacher, as a summer camp style programs and teen leadership and those kind of things. It sounds like to me like you all have every comment that I had that I was going to send to Skyla, then immediately someone in the group said something almost identical. So I don't necessarily have anything to add. I would just say that I'm available if people want to. I live in the Lower Columbia River Gorge area, Lower Columbia River between Hood River and Portland kind of area for this entire time, the last 25 years or so. So I'm available if anybody wants to bounce ideas around or see some examples of online things that I've done this summer with some other non-Rotary groups. I'd be happy to share that information.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for helping facilitate this today. I appreciate the tech support. Art, you are next up on my screen if you have any thoughts.
I'm going to sort of defer to David because David's in our district and he's got a pretty good handle on what the strengths in our district are.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I mean, Art has been involved in the RYLA camp for quite a long time, and I have been its director for a number of years, and then passed that on and performed key roles. But what I did, stepping into our camp leadership, was to transform it into not just a once a year experience, but a 12-month a year experience. So we created a RYLA alumni council that had a regular monthly meeting, and from that they would continue to develop their leadership skills. And from that core, we were able to select those who could be part of our junior staff in the coming camps. And that's kept growing so that, you know, some of those alumni, this is their 7th, 8th year of participation after being a camper. Our next big thing is translating the RYLA leadership curriculum so it can be delivered more individually at the high school level, actually. And we have invested from my Rotary Club about $100,000 in the last year, and we've just hired a person to coordinate the programming and translate that and deliver RYLA style curriculum in the high school. And we're developing a template that any Rotary Club hopefully could adopt.
Excellent. Excellent. Bob?
Well, one of the things we're looking at, before COVID, we were going to do a youth services summit where we had the Interact, the Rotaract, and RYLA programs all get together. So now we're looking at doing that virtually. In the district, we have purchased 22 Zoom licenses, and we have given those to all of our assistant governors and all of our committee chairs so that we can assist groups that want to do things like that. And so we're hoping to be able to use that technology to bring those three groups together.
Awesome. Amanda, I know you're from the same district, but do you have anything you'd like to add?
Bob is pretty spot on. Something I definitely want to make sure I'm more engaged with in the future is getting RYLA and Rotaract connected. I tended to be a little bit more hands-off with Rotaract because a lot of my RYLA kids were, I don't know why I say kids, young adults, were like, 20, 21 and like a little bit too young for Rotaract. So, but no, there needs to be definitely more outreach there. One of the things that I like right now with how the RYLA campers operate is they tend to all get very, very close very quickly. So you know how that goes. And they tend to have a super strong social media presence with one another, particularly with Instagram and whatnot. And we always have some parties for them afterwards, pizza parties, that type of stuff. And I do like the idea of maybe turning RYLA into something that a long-term engagement versus just a 1 week camp and then, done and forget. So yeah, I think there's a lot of bridges that we can all build that will be beneficial.
Absolutely. If you offer pizza, they will come. That is consistent.
I have found this out, yes.
True statement. As a college student, it stays true forever. I promise. Awesome. Sherry?
Well, in our district, for the first time, we started a middle school RYLA. And unfortunately, this was supposed to be the first year. It had to be canceled like everything else.
Shoot.
So the thinking is the sooner we can get young people into RYLA and expose them to what Rotary has to offer, the better off we are, is giving them the experiences even down into the middle school area. So it's rescheduled and we can hope it will come off next year, but we all know how that, we'll just have to wait and see. But it's actually a pretty exciting program that I think we'll see what happens.
And Sherry, do you mind sharing, you might have said this already, but what program do you know are you guys planning on using for the conferences that will be online? Are you just going to be using Zoom?
You mean for the middle school? Or you
Yeah,
talking
you mentioned
about,
earlier one of the RYLAs would be online.
Oh, our RYLA, we have 2 RYLA programs in our district. And we had to cancel the online. Yes, it will be on Zoom.
Okay.
And it will be next weekend. And we are inviting any adults that would like to observe because it's a whole new experience for the rest of us also. But yes, it will be on Zoom and it is definitely, and it's all student run and student driven. So yes.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. I was just curious. I've been wondering, as we learn to navigate this a little bit more, it'll be interesting to see if Zoom is consistently always going to be what we default to, or if new things will come out of the woodwork.
Well, I think we're just using Zoom because that's what we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in another session, they were talking about, other platforms. I'm sure there are other platforms out there, but I don't know if they're any better than Zoom. I guess Andrew could tell us that.
I did use a combination with a couple summer camp style programs where most of the kids knew each other and the parents all knew the program well. And we used a combination of Zoom with a platform called Goose Chase, which is they call it a scavenger hunt. And really it's a very, you set up activities, things kids can do at home or with their families, and then they submit a photo or a short video or some other kind of response. And then those responses are visible to other people who are in the game. So it's almost got a little bit of a social media component. And we found that fills in really well between the live portions that we did on Zoom. We could link those things together. Tomorrow, these new activities are going to be available. And if you post your thing and the next day, then your friends can all see that before we come back together again tomorrow or next week or whenever the next in-person meeting is. And that seemed to work really well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I could share, I put my email in there. I wouldn't want to share links because I don't necessarily have, that's a long story, but I'd be happy to share, screen share in person with people if they want to see a short demonstration or some short videos of what those programs look like, if that would be helpful for you to get ideas about how to use those platforms. Feel welcome to reach out is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, and if you guys, just in case you didn't notice, there is some contact information kind of being filtered through the chat. Andrew put his information up there. Sherry, if you wouldn't mind dropping your email in the chat, I think people
Sure.
would be absolutely interested in participating and observing that online RYLA. And Angela, you are the only person we haven't heard from quite yet for this last little thought.
Yeah, I just, like you said, there's a lot of stuff that people are doing that we do as well. One of the things that our district does well, because we're Northern California and Nevada together doing RYLA. I didn't hear other people say that they have an executive foundation formed at all for their RYLAs. But what that composes of for us is all the incoming district governors, past district governor line, for succinctness and trying to collaborate and make sure things are carried on from year to year. We have that executive branch as well up in the foundation that we keep informed. And then our committee is subset of, yes, alumni, the counselors, and you know, our photographers, everybody. And we collaborate all of our information out on a main toolkit box for everybody. So something, gosh forbid, were to happen to the executive director, you know, I was the executive for the last 3 years or whatever, everything is accessible to people in the Dropbox so they could walk onto the campus tomorrow and run RYLA. I like that. We do the online conference for Interact RYLA, RYE here in Sacramento area. We just did it online this year because of everything with COVID as well. And that seemed to go well. And had different speakers talk about the different areas and alumni. So that keeps people engaged. But again, with the social media, I think that's our biggest, I like this online talk about the RYLA. I just don't know how to, we're so used to doing it in person and all the active, interactive stuff together, and I just don't know how to switch over. So I'm interested to see the online RYLA and see how that goes over with the teams.
Well, we'd love to have you come on, Angela.
Yeah, I'll be there.
This will be an adventure for us too, so.
Yeah.
I ask a question of Bob. Bob, have you had any, is there some manner of success in moving RYLArians into Rotary?
Not as
Sounds like
much into Rotaract as it is into Rotary.
Really?
Yeah, we've got, and that was a concerted effort to start a club of just RYLArians. And so we've got about 22 now in that club.
Wow.
And all of them have been in RYLA before. So they're now Rotarians, and it's a passport club. Seems to be working quite well.
Which means what? A passport club that it's.
They meet virtually anyway. They only have to have, I think it's 1 or 2 meetings a year. They have to do a certain number of community service hours, 30 or 40 hours a year. And that's basically the only requirements that there are. But they were meeting virtually before COVID hit. And that works out well because we have everybody scattering to the winds when they leave RYLA. We're not limited to a geographic area.
You have a strategy for connecting the RYLArians to the passport club?
I'd have to talk to them. I haven't, recently I haven't talked to them, so I don't know what their strategy is, but the RYLA group is rethinking all of RYLA. They've met together for the last 3 months, and so what they come up with, I'm not aware of yet.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. This is an excellent conversation. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and the timeline that we were given. So just as a heads up, it is 11:57. This is scheduled to end, I believe, at noon. So in the spirit of being respectful of everyone's time, I want to start kind of wrapping up this discussion. And in just a moment, I will have our reporter kind of give a little report on what our discussion was today. Before we go into that, I'm not sure. I'm wondering if Andrew has some of this information. I believe all of the sessions from today were recorded and will be available for everyone in some capacity once this is over today. So I'm sure if you guys want to follow up with that, there will be some follow-up items. Andrew, I don't know if you know anything more about that.
All I know is in general that recording breakout rooms is a bit trickier to do and coordinate afterwards reviewing than the main session. So you might just see the beginning 5 minutes and the 10-minute summary of each session, which is much better than nothing. But I can see that it's being recorded, so it'll be available somewhere, I'm sure.
It'll be on the Zoom website, the Zone website.
Perfect.
27.
Excellent. So all of this information, I believe, will be available. I think there was a contact sheet that was going around at a period of time for people as well. So if you have questions for anyone, either in this group, other folks you met throughout the day, I'm sure there are some systems set up to help facilitate that a little bit. It looks like we have just a couple more minutes if our reporter wants to kind of just real quickly go back over what we talked about today.
Sure. I know we were talking about what all our districts do the best, and I think we all do a semblance of what was mentioned: youth services presentation, social media, mailboxes, telling stories. We've done that also before. I mean, the impact that some of the alumni from RYLA can tell you is amazing. The Passport Club developed from RYLA. That's a very interesting concept, Bob. I think that's something that we could all definitely give it a try. We do need to use different platforms, Zoom, and then I learned one, was it called Goose Chase? Is that what it's called?
That's the one that I've used.
Okay, I didn't know if I got it right or not, but anyway, I've heard of Zoom. Someone else said Slack in another session. So I know there's lots of platforms out there, so I think we just need to kind of research and find out what works best for you, depending upon what you're going to do. And I think I could just wrap it up by saying that at this point in time, we just all need to reimagine our youth programs.
Excellent. I think reimagine is a beautiful word choice also. Art, just to answer your question that I saw in the chat really quickly, Sherry.
I saw it also.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Sherry did go ahead and put her email and some information for the virtual RYLA if anybody's interested. Are there any final thoughts for the whole group before we kind of wrap this up today that anybody would like to throw out there?
I just want to say I thought you did a great job and your enthusiasm really carried the session through. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. I'm here because I love Rotary and I've loved it since I found it. So whatever we can do getting people involved is absolutely excellent. And I'd like to say thank you all of you as well, not only for participating in this conference today, but having interest in youth services. You know, the more Rotarians that are really engaged and excited about interacting with the youth, they're going to feel that as well. So thank you guys for your interest. Thank you for keeping this going. I don't have anything else for the rest of you, so I appreciate your time here today. I would suggest keeping an eye on your emails for any follow-up, contact information, things like that. But other than that, thank you all for your time. Stay safe and be well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. It was a great conversation.
Excellent. So I think that's it, right? Is that all we do?
Yeah, I don't think we go back to a main, you know, a big group thing again. I think we're just done. Yeah. And then somebody will send out.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. I'm definitely not Zoom savvy, so it was nice to have someone here.
Well, your meeting was pretty easy. We didn't even do breakout rooms, you know, so.
Thank goodness. I was hoping that we would be able, it's so much easier, I think, to have the big group. So that was perfect amount of people and everybody engaged. So that's really fun.
Yeah, you seem pretty, I always had a feeling that you had an idea what the answer was when you asked a question, you know. Is that true? Do you have a pretty good sense of how you feel you can engage youth as they move from teens to young adults and whatnot?
Right. Well, I feel like I definitely have a unique perspective because I have done everything that there is to offer with Rotary Youth Services. So that definitely makes me feel confident when I ask the questions because I'm someone who went through those ropes. But I also specifically have been working with Rotarians who are involved in youth services for the last 4 or 5 years now. I'm public image coordinator for the Interact district in 5110, so I have a lot of experience kind of navigating the age gap and just the way that the conversations kind of roll between the two groups.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing Rotary stuff for a long time. It hook, line, and sinkered me, so I'm here for sure.
Do you have time to answer a couple questions? Because I
Yeah,
don't really
absolutely.
know I don't know much about, I don't know almost nothing about Rotary youth programming.
Mhm.
So maybe could you give me like a brief overview of what age groups services are provided for and a little, just like a nutshell of what those look like? If you have time for that, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course I'm in District 5110 and it's a little bit different in every district that you go to. So my answers are specific to that.
Okay.
We offer Interact, which is if you're looking at the different bridges or sort of levels of involvement, it goes from Interact, which is high school, to Rotaract, which is college, kind of, you know, youth 20 to 30s. And then you would, of course, join Rotary as the final tier. So Interact typically is just a high school based program. For mine, it was all 4 years, freshmen to seniors, whoever wanted to join could join. And it's essentially a condensed Rotary Club meeting that you have once a week. It follows really similar patterns to the regular Rotary meetings that the, you know, quote unquote grown-up clubs would be having. And then in my personal experience, my Interact Club would partner with the local Rotary Club and then essentially just integrate into everything that they were doing. Any fundraiser, any event, whatever was going on that was applicable for the high schoolers to get involved in, they did. So auctions, road cleanups, you know, attending a once a month Rotary meeting, there was some pretty deep connection there between those two groups.
And how did you join into that? Were your parents involved, or did you just get in kind of randomly on your own?
I had a friend in school who was already involved. They were a couple grades older than I was. And so they suggested it to me. And Interact was my initial kind of first step into Rotary. And then almost immediately after joining, I just happened to be the right age group where I was able to attend Camp RYLA as a camper. And I firmly believe that getting people to Camp RYLA is the hook, line, and sinker for continual and repeat involvement in Rotary.
That's Interact age?
It's Camp RYLA is, yeah, Interact age. It's in our district specifically, it's 15 to 16-year-olds.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously I'm biased, but I feel that our Camp RYLA is just absolutely stellar insofar as the programs that we offer. We get our curriculum from True North. So they provide I'm not sure if that is true across districts or what, but True North provides the curriculum, and then we kind of mash that up with our own personalities and how the counselors and facilitators kind of want to organize the campers. But that's a week long. I think it's similar to other district formats, but I'm not really sure how other districts do their camps.
Okay.
And then beyond that, another program that is offered in that same Interact age of high schoolers, freshmen to seniors, is the youth exchange program, which are the short-term and long-term exchanges. Those are offered, I think, again, throughout the age groups. I think the cutoff is 18, though. I believe you have to either turn 18 or be younger than that while on your exchange to qualify. And I did a short term. I went to Italy. The short terms are family to family exchanges. So a student will come and live with you and your family, and you go through all the classic Rotary, we take her to fundraisers, we take them to the Rotary meetings, and you just kind of get integrated into what that lifestyle is like for both parties.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's I think that's Camp RYLA, Interact. Rotaract, of course, is the college level. Here, we're really scattered across the district. We have a couple of, I'm from Eugene, I go to UO, so I am specifically a member of the University of Oregon Rotaract. However, there are multiple different options. There's, I think Corvallis has an online club. You don't have to ever meet in person, and that was pre-COVID, that was already happening. Corvallis, I think, has a university-based club. Springfield has a community-based club. So you don't have to be affiliated with a school. You just have to be between the ages of 19 and I think 35 and have an interest in Rotary. So there's plenty of different options, I think, in our district to make sure that people are able to be integrated kind of regardless of your background or where you're at.
Okay. And what kinds of service projects are available, like hands-on? I think that came up at some point, service.
For the Rotaract clubs?
Yeah, and Interact. In your experience.
For Interact specifically, a lot of the programs that they're doing, again, like I said, are just in line with whatever the local Rotary clubs are doing. For my district specifically, I was a part of the Illinois Valley Rotary Club, was closest to my hometown, or to my high school, I should say. And so we did essentially everything that they were able to do that allowed us. We helped facilitate auctions. We would be door holders. We did road cleanups throughout the city. It's a very small town, so you kind of just cycle through the whole main street in one go. Beyond that, at the high school level, we would be responsible for facilitating one local project and one international project. The international project typically would just be a fundraiser, whether that be pennies for polio, selling chocolate bars, things of that nature. And then the local project would be something that we kind of were responsible for coming up with each year. Some examples of that include a day of service where kids were taken out of school for a 8-hour period and bused essentially to different community service projects. There was a karaoke night where the way that you voted for your favorite American Idol singers was by putting 1s and 5s into their jar, things of that nature. When you kind of level up and get into the larger age groups of Rotaract, where you're dealing with, younger adults, 30-year-olds, the projects I think started to advance a little bit, where just in the sense of you're fundraising more money, you're dealing with things that are a little bit more intricate, like organizing whole events, booking spaces to use for those events, things like that. But it's definitely location based. So for example, I'm in Eugene. Our Rotaract Club partners with different organizations from the university. Like we will fundraise with this other group that provides scholarships to refugees across seas, things like that. And then along those same lines, you have one local project, one international project that the group comes up with.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's super interesting. That helps a lot.
Yeah, it's very, very involved over here, I think. District 5110 definitely has a passion for the youth services. So I'm very lucky to be involved in this district, but it's excellent.
Cool. Well, thanks. I sent you an email just so you have my address in case it's ever relevant in the future. And
awesome.
Good to talk with you again.
Yeah.
Great job today, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free. Thank you. Thank you. It was fun. I always enjoy hanging out with Rotarians. They're always a good time. So same to you. Feel free to reach out. You have my email. I'm totally available, and I do stuff throughout the district and throughout Rotary, so I'm always around.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, it was excellent to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for your time.
Be safe.
See you later.